Now we've gone over the display tab. Let's talk about the fields tab. The fields tab pertains to adding a grower, adding an email, adding a farm for a grower, adding a field, viewing field details, changing the commodity type, viewing transaction details. So when you add a grower, we'll go over this example is pressing the plus to add a grower, type in the grower name, and press the done button. The grower could be added by pushing the info button, which we'll go over in a little bit. So you see the grower screen will look something like this. I have a list of growers, and then to advance to the next row, or to the next category, just tap on the row. If you want to edit, just push on the info circle. Another key thing is adding email to the device. So we'll go over that a little bit too. Adding an email, you tap on your settings, go to accounts and passwords once you're in the settings. And then when you bring up the screen with the accounts and passwords, you'll go down to add an account, which is below if you have iCloud, Gmail, for example. You tap on add an account, give you a list of choices. And so if you have one of these choices, so say it's Google, then it'll take you to the Google sign-in screen. If you have a smaller email company that you use, a local one, your best bet is probably going to one of these that are listed, but you would tap on other and then type in your credentials that way. If you ever have any issues with the email, you'll go through and tap on the settings, go to accounts and passwords, and you'll actually delete your account out of there. So it'd be looking something like this screen here is where you would go to delete that out, and we'll go over that in a little bit. And then adding a farm is the same way as adding a field, a grower, and then adding a field is the same way as far as just leveling through, and we'll go over that in a little bit. The transmit button looks like this. That's how you email the information out. Any of the credentials as far as the field or anything pertaining to data wise. So field, area size, total, select the crop. And then one thing that you'll notice, if you ever notice if your yield is way off, make sure that your area size is correct, and that will adjust it. Because if you look at the previous video, the yield was completely way off, and that's because the area size was much smaller. Viewing the transaction details. The transaction details can be edited, so that way you can go through and correct any errors. So in this example, you see the weight of 10,000 pounds, the test weight, the operator, the moisture, the temperature, the crop, the field. And then below this there actually is where you can go through and change the destination. You have to make a choice at that point whether you're going to change the truck or the destination to get that right. The truck is basically invalid if you have to change the destination. So let's go ahead and take a look at that inside the app on how this all comes together and works. So we're going to push on the Fields tab down the bottom left-hand corner there. And let me go back to where we need to be to begin with. So let's go ahead and add a new grower. And then we'll put a name in. There's the grower name. And then if we ever need to edit that, we'll push on the info button. And that will edit the name. And then if I tap on the row for Ron here, that will take us to the farm level. And then you can put a name in there. So if his last name is, make it different from what I have in there, West Farms, let's say, we'll name it. So the biggest thing is just remembering the grower's name is Ron. and then if his name's Ron West, for example, West Farms, put that in. And then if I need to edit that for any reason, I can go back and push the info button. To advance to the field level, this takes me to the field screen. And then I can add a name in here. And then I can go Ron Field 1, or however you want to categorize this. So if you have a method on how you do your maps and label, so if directionally, coordinate wise, you can put that in here and then that would work. We're just going to do this for an example. So I'm putting in my area size, I'll leave that, and then I'll select a crop. And if you don't see anything listed here, so pretty much for our region, simple rotation, corn, soybean rotation, just depending on where you live, and then what you grow, you can go through and change this up very easily. So if your list is not desired, you can push the plus button, and then you can go through a list of different commodity types and make a selection based off of that. If you have to do a write-in, you can certainly do that too. So I'm not going to do anything there. I'm going to put corn on this. If you're at default, make sure that you make a selection based on your crop type, and make sure that you change from corn to soybean if you do a corn to soybean rotation. Make sure that if you're doing wheat, that you've moved on from the previous season. So just make sure that your crop types all match up, and then after you're done, just make sure that everything is implemented as far as doing your crop rotation from year to year and making those changes. So let's go back, and then we have basically everything that we need to collect there, or everything set up. So we'll go next, and then I'll push the done button. And now I'm set up with my field for Ron Field number 1. I'll push info, and then this can be changed at any time. I can change the crop if I want. I can go through, change the name if I want by hitting that info button here. I can change the area size, and I can even add a transaction. So if you had a mishaps and something didn't get recorded, I can put that in. And then you'll see where it'll go through and actually calculate the dry and then the wet bushels on there. And then with the actual transaction of the truck. Now let's say I want to delete this. I can bring up the hidden delete button, and then I can push delete. If I want to add a transaction back in or something like that, I can do so. If I want to email this information out, that's why it's critical that we have our email set up on this. I can email just that field out, and that would be fine. Delete that draft. And then if I want to edit anything, I'll hit the info key, and then that takes you to the info key screen where I can adjust the weight, test weight, operator, moisture, temperature, crop. I could even put a note. So if you need to put in, say, a truck ID number, you can certainly do so at this place. If I want this weight transaction to go into a different field, you can do so. You can change it here. And then once again, you can change the truck or the destination. And so the destinations on here, just make sure that everything jives, that everything from your field category matches up. And then make sure that it matches up at your destination. So, and this will all reflect. So this is how you would go through and edit anything, is just make sure that it all shows up in the field category. So I'm just going to go done. We're not going to change anything here. I'll back out. And then back to the main screen display, and then Ron field number 1, and you see that transaction that I entered in. And then we have the area size with, you can see the bushels per acre just getting calculated, and basically starting off from that point.